Hey Swayers, it's your buddy, it's your pal, it's Karnik, Star Wars Armada Explained. Great to see you all. I know I said I was going to try to get videos out once a week. Real life stuff happens, but today we're going to look at the booster wave signaling hyper beam, what's it called? Hyperwave signal boost. There we go. So we're going to be looking at hyperwave signal boost. Just to state up front, this is not going to be a short video. This is an extremely complicated card and a card that I've gotten a ton of questions about. It's probably the card that the people in Armada least understand. And I'm going to do, like I always do, I'm going to break it down, simplify it to the best of my ability, and we'll get through it. But again, not going to be a short video, going to be a long video. So let's dive right in. Hyperwave Signal Boost. If you look at the bottom left-hand corner of the card, you'll see that it has the offensive retrofit. And on the opposite side of that, you're going to see it only costs 3 points, and it's for the CIS faction only. It's the only faction that can take this card. If you're wondering why I don't have the card blown up real big, there's just a ton of text on there. If you do want to follow along, though, just go to the Armada reference manual, go to the Offensive Retrofit Google Doc, pull it up. You can follow along with me. But to read the text on the card, and again, if you look at it, you'll see that in the status phase, if you do use this card, it's got a ready cost. You obviously follow how that works, but we're not going to get too much into that. So let's read the card detail. So during the squadron phase, when it is your fleet's turn to activate squadrons, you may exhaust this card to choose a number of unactivated friendly squadrons at close to long range up to your squadron value. This turn, activate each of those squadrons while attacking. Each of the squadrons with AI are treated as if activated by a squadron command. So there's a lot in here with that wording, and we're going to pick each piece apart. But just for those of you that just need a quick in and out, how does this card work? So the ship itself is choosing squadrons at close to long range. Just to give the quick overview for people. Let's say if this card was equipped to this Munificent, and we've got, let's say, two hyenas and a tri-fighter over here. Okay, so if you were to choose, instead of activating the 2 squadrons you normally would in your squadron phase, you can say, I'm going to use Hyperwave Signal Boost. I'm going to activate 3. This card is not rogue. Does not give rogue to things they can't move and attack. Again, we'll break that down. But if they have AI, they get their AI boost while attacking. Again, they don't get to move and attack. But that's in a nutshell. Instead of doing your 2, you can choose 1, 2, 3 squadrons up to your squad value, however many that is. If you choose them, if they attack, they get their AI bonus. And that is, in a nutshell, how this card works. But again, let's get into all the intricate timings of everything. So what's the first part that we're going to get into? Again, we're going to go into the KARM. So again, the timing of this upgrade card is that you may exhaust and resolve this in the squadron phase when it is your turn to activate squadrons. So in the squadron phase, when it is your turn to activate your usual 2 squadrons, instead of resolving the typical squadron activation, you may exhaust this card. If you do, this ship chooses a number up to that ship squadron value of unactivated friendly squadrons at close to long range of the ship. Then, instead of 2 squadrons activating, the squadrons you have chosen activate. If those squadrons have the keyword AI and they conduct an attack, and while attacking only, they are treated as if being activated by a squadron command for the purposes of resolving the AI keyword. Now, let's get into all the intricacies. A lot of people, for whatever reason, have the misconception, and again, I understand Armada wording can be difficult, that the squadrons get to move and shoot with this effect. This is not the case. Short answer, no. Do squadrons get to move and shoot with this card effect? No. While attacking only do you treat squadrons as if activated by a squadron command. So again, this is not giving you rogue. This is not allowing you to move and shoot. This is not activating with the squadron command because, again, it states only on the card, while attacking only, you treat them as if activated. So that's a short answer. Let's get into the long answer of why this is. Per RNG, this is how squadron activation is defined. There are two different types of squadron activations. A lot of people get this confused. You have A-type activation, which is when a squadron is activated during the squadron phase, and this is an RNG, it can move or attack, but not both. Okay? Squadron activation defined type B. When a squadron is activated by a squadron command, it can move and attack in any order. Look at the Han Solo squadron for an example. It doesn't just say that card text on there for any reason, because it states on there as if activated by a squadron command, which means it gets to move and shoot, because this was before Rogue came out. Otherwise, if this card gave Rogue, it would just tell you it gave your squadron's Rogue. It doesn't. It's very specific. So again, to continue on with the long answer, you have your A-type activation, B-type, A-type in the squadron phase, which is when this card takes place, move or attack, not both. B-type squadron activation, again, if activated by a squadron command, it can move and attack. Again, hyperspace wave beam or whatever, it is only the A type of activation, because again, you are still restricted, continuing off the wording, you are still restricted by the squadron phase definition of activation, as the activation granted by HSB is not considered a squadron command resolution done by the ship. To get into the activations, that ship, is choosing squadrons, but the card then says activate those squadrons, not you activate those squadrons. The squadrons themselves are the ones that are activating. Only when you choose to attack with those selected squadrons are the attacks, and the attacks only are treated as if activated by a squadron command. Okay? So I think, so again, squadrons themselves are not able to move and shoot. It's just they can move or shoot, and if they choose to shoot, they get their AI bonus. Now, if it's a squadron you choose to activate, if it doesn't have an AI bonus, obviously it doesn't get an AI bonus. You can't add dice to that. It's only really beneficial. I mean, it's beneficial for a lot of reasons, but it's extra helpful to squadrons with the AI keyword. But if they don't have the AI keyword, they don't get a bonus die. Some people, for some reason, thought that they do, but no, not the case. Okay. Do these activations work with relay? No, as relay is only from a ship resolving a squadron command. HSB is just changing how many squadrons activate, and this activation is not done by that ship, but by the squadrons themselves. So again, to reiterate, when you're using HSB and you're checking at what's close to long range, for example, let's say this Tri-Fighter's out here, but you've got Grievous here. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to relay through Grievous to this Tri-Fighter. Absolutely not. Relay is only when you resolve squadron commands. HSB, as we've determined multiple times already, is not a squadron command. Therefore, you can't relay it to some other squadrons. It is literally only the squadrons at close to medium range, or close to long range of the ship itself. You can't relay it, you can't pass it, there's no go, you don't get out of jail free, none of that stuff. Okay. Let's move on to the next part. Do you activate the usual 2 squadrons plus the ship squadron amount, or only the ship squadron amount? So again, this is a lot of heavy questions about this, because a lot of people thought that you got your usual 2 plus like a Munificence 3, so you could do 5. And that is not the case, because you activate the number of squadrons is defined by the squadron value of the ship equipped with this card. As you are choosing to resolve an alternate method to resolve squadrons and not the usual 2 squadron activations. How do we know this? Precedent is based off Mon Mothma. Mon Mothma's ability, which is a card effect, provides an alternate way to spend evade defense tokens, and evade defense tokens spent in this way does not also produce its normal effect. So to apply that precedent to this card, you would just change the wording. Hyperwave Signal Boost ability provides an alternate way to activate squadrons. Squadrons activated in this way does not also produce its normal activation procedure. So in a nutshell, when you're activating squadrons, again, the typical amount that you activate is 2 unless you only have 1. What HSB is, when you exhaust that card, you are saying, instead of doing the usual 2, I am instead replacing it. I'm chucking that out. I'm bringing in this card, and I'm saying I am using this card's effect, not the standard effect. Okay, so you can then choose that number to then activate instead of the usual 2. So it's not 2 plus that card, it is just whatever you choose with that card. This card says, exhaust this card to choose a number. Can I choose 0 squadrons to activate? Yes, 0 is a number. You can exhaust HSB and not activate any squadrons your fleet's turn and pass your turn, essentially. This is going to blow a lot of people's mind, like, what? I can choose 0? Yes, 0 is a number. 0 is a defined number in Armada. You have the ability to choose 0. So essentially, what Hyperwave Signal Boost can do is that it gives you essentially a pass in your squadron phase if you want it to. Because again, your squadron amount on a Munificent is you can choose up to 3, but again, 0 is still a number on there. So you could either, for example, if I have these 3, I could choose all 3, I could choose 2 of them, I could choose 1 of them, I could choose none of them. Why is this helpful? Well, if your opponent has a bunch of rogues, you don't want to activate your squadrons and either move them in or maybe have to move them away from your ships. Rogues don't like attacking into unactivated squadrons because then guess what? Those squadrons are then going to activate and shoot them back. Rogues don't like that. So if you're trying to buy some time for your squadrons, you could activate this card, choose 0, and essentially you're passing your fleet's activation turn back to your opponent. So if you did have, for example, 3 of these cards equipped, you could like exhaust 1 on your fleet's turn. Yeah, I choose 0, your turn. All right, they move their 2 up. You know what? I've got another card. I'm going to exhaust this one. I choose 0, back to your turn. So you can drag out your opponent's squadron activation cycle until it's most optimal for you to then start activating squadrons. Now, do remember that these cards do have a ready cost. You know, they're a one-time use unless you pay the cost to refresh them, which is the repair and squadron. So this leads into another interesting interaction. How many of these cards can you use at once? Multiple copies of this card can each resolve their effect during your fleet's turn to activate squadrons. Each card effect must be resolved separately. This precedent is from Targeting Scrambler's wording and fact. Multiple copies of this card can each resolve their effect during the same attack, or in this case, the same squadron, your same fleet turn. Each card's effect must be resolved separately. Does that mean I can do them all at once during one part, or can I split them up each time it's my fleet's turn to activate? So here's an example. When it is your turn, you can use 2 HSBs to activate 6 squadrons, let's say 3 from each card. Again, each card resolved separately for that period. Or over the course of 2 of your turns to activate squadrons, you can use 1 HSB at a time. So again, to go back into examples, let's say I've got all of these squadrons right here. So let's say that my opponent, he came up, he flew some squadrons up at me, they shot me up a little bit. And now it's a squadron phase, and now it's my fleet's turn to activate squadrons. Instead of resolving the usual 2 and then having to pass my turn back to my opponent, I can say, I am going to use, let's say that there's an HSB equipped to each ship here. I am going to use 2 HSB cards. You exhaust them. exhaust, exhaust. I'm exhausting 2 of them. All right, so now, because I exhausted both of these cards, and we'll just say for this example, we're going to say the hard cells can activate 3 squadrons. They can't. I'm just using this as an example, okay? So let's say that each hard cell says, we're each going to choose 3 squadrons to activate, or 5 squadrons, So you say with that one ship on the left here, you say, I'm choosing to activate 2 with HSB, and it's going to be both of these tri-fighters. You then resolve that card first. So you activate your tri-fighters, they go pow, 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 they shoot, 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 they get their AI bonus. That is resolved then from that card. Now you go over to your second HSB that you exhausted, and you say, okay, now with this ship and with this card, again, you're resolving it separately. I'm now going to choose 3 squadrons to activate with this card. You check close to long range. Okay, I've got these 3 guys. I'm going to activate these 3, and they're going to activate, and if they have AI bonus, they're going to get the AI bonus and shoot. Of course, the hiding bombers is only when they're bombing ships, not shooting squadrons. But then they would activate and then shoot. So in your 1, it is your fleet's turn to activate. Again, instead of doing 2, you exhausted 2 cards to do 5. All right. Now to back this example back up, if you didn't want to do that, you could be, instead, you say, hey, I'm going to exhaust 1 card on my fleet's turn to activate. I'm going to choose 3 squadrons. Again, if the hard cell somehow could choose 3, again, they can't. I'm just giving it an example. You could do your 3, 1, 2, 3. You would then pass the turn back to your opponent. Let's say he brings this torrent up for whatever reason. Then, again, what is your fleet's turn to activate? You can exhaust another card and then activate more squadrons. Instead of doing the usual 2, you can choose an amount. Okay, so in a nutshell, you can either resolve all of your HSBs in one go, in one of your fleet's turn to activate, or you can space them out each time it is your fleet's turn to activate. Again, this is all based on precedent of the targeting scramblers of, an interdictor. When it's using targeting scramblers, you can use 3 interdictors on the same attack because it is each card, or it's each ship with each its own card resolving its own effect in that window. They're not limited. Okay, a lot of people are thinking that you can only do 1 card total. That's not the case. This is all based on RNG, fact, precedent. This has been thoroughly discussed with many other judges. This is all totally fine, legal. Okay. Whew, that's a lot of talking, and I know a lot of this is just going right over a lot of people's heads. They don't quite understand like all these very fine-tuned intricacies of these cards. But for a lot of people that do grasp some of this, there's a lot of interesting play that is going to come about from this card. I don't know if this card is broken or not. Because when I was bringing this up with some of the play testers and kind of getting their feedback on it, because I didn't quite understand, they're like, oh yeah, we didn't know it could do that. Oh yeah, we didn't know it could do that. Oh yeah, we didn't know it could do that. And I was like, oh no. So I don't know if moving into the future, if somebody is going to find a way to break this card. I don't feel that there's a way to break this card, but I feel like that there is a possibility somebody can break this card. And make things not good for someone else. But I don't know. It's brand new. We have to let that be out in the wild. We'll have to see how things go. I know I've been doing my own tests to try to figure this card out. And just in a nutshell, I mean, where is this card useful at? Again, it's great for either passing your squadron activations so that your opponent is forced to do stuff. You're not giving away any information. It makes them really hesitant to throw like rogues or anything into you. Another benefit of where this card excels at is that if you can anticipate where your ships are going to end up being and you can leave your squadrons unactivated and they're helping protect your ships, if the enemy throws in a bunch of squadrons at your squadrons, what's left over can still essentially attack back with their super AI boost if they're like tri-fighters or vultures. and you're able to at least hit back without being penalized as much as being forced to use a squadron command when your ships are activating. So there's a lot of play that can happen here. It's a very unique card. It's just so interesting, and somebody other than me will probably figure out like how best to use it. But I've gone on long enough. That's all the examples. Of course, again, if you need additional help understanding what I just said, or if you're not sure about certain parts, leave a comment. Please ask me questions, or go to the Armada reference manual. Again, it's all laid out here, all the answers. You can read it at your own pace. Put the pieces out, read the card step by step, interact with it. Or again, come find me on the Discord. I'm on the Star Wars Armada Discord. I'm on the Tabletop Simulator Discord. I'm on Master of Fleet. I'm on Kravik. I'm on this. I'm on that. I'm everywhere. But you guys are all fantastic, guys, persons, girls. I'm trying to get better at using more gender neutral terminology, just for my own personal reasons. But y'all are great. There we go. Just use y'all because that's a great word. And again, fantastic. Thank you so much for your support. I look forward to new cards, new things coming. And hey, I'll catch you all next time.